Well, you knew the road leading up to the trial of Richard Allen would not necessarily be a smooth one, and it has not been a smooth one thus far. Now we're here at the doorstep of going into the courtroom and him getting his day in court, or at least a very skewed day in court due to Judge Gull. And here's how it got skewed just a little bit more. Todd Click, the only officer that we know of in this whole case, who at the very beginning said, I think there's more to this, helped investigate the Odinism theory, was actually going to be one of the star witnesses for the defense, may still be arrested just the other day and charged with falsifying information, forging documents, basically, in his role as a DCS family case manager. It has nothing to do with the case against Richard Allen. It's essentially some sort of a paperwork offense. But enough to put some maybe doubts in the credibility in the mind of the jury of this one person from the police force there who has some sympathy and thinks there may be something else going on here. Joining me to discuss, Eric Faddis, defense attorney, former prosecutor. What do you make of this with this arrest and the timing of this charge right before the trial is about to start?
That's the thing is the timing is striking because what it tells me is under the law, usually you can impeach a witness based on alleged acts of dishonesty. So those include like fabricating documents, forgery, stuff like that. And that's exactly what they went after this defense witness for, right before the trial is about to begin. I wonder if they had this information for a period of time and sat on it and chose just now to bring it up, but it just screams of like, trial strategy as opposed to like justice.
Can a prosecution do something like this as a trial strategy? Can they legally do something like this? I know if he did do something illegal, which maybe he did, yes, of course, you should bring that up, and if charges need to be brought, they need to be brought. But if they knew for months, years maybe, about this impropriety sitting over here, and they're just going, we're not going to do anything about this. We're not going to play this card until it's the right time. Is that something a prosecutor's office has the right to do when using it basically as a chip in a totally different case?
Whether they have the right or not, it happens pretty
Mhm.
often. What I would say is there is a doctrine called vindictive prosecution, which essentially says, hey, you're bringing a prosecution in bad faith. You're bringing it for the wrong reasons. You're not bringing it because you're trying to go after a person who you think committed a crime. Because if so, and if they had the information regarding that, months or years ago, they should have brought it then. The fact they're bringing it now at least gives an air of possible vindictive prosecution, but they get away with stuff like that all the time.
What do you think the purpose is here? What's the end game on Todd Click? Because they can't really talk about Odinism in this trial. I mean, this would be kind of the only way that maybe a little bit would enter the lexicon of the trial, by him talking about the lack of evidence, or just his thoughts on what was going on. Um, is this just strictly to discredit? What's your thoughts?
I think it's to discredit the defense, to kind of like kick their legs out from under them right before the big battle. And so I think they're just taking whatever additional measures they can to shore up this case that a lot of people are watching and a lot of people have asked questions about.
There's one of two things happening here. Either they really have a case and Richard Allen is dead to rights, and they're going to present that in court, and the rest of us will magically see, oh, we've all been wrong all this time. They have this. He truly is the one who did it. Or they're going to have an extremely weak case, and there's not going to be a lot that any of this stands on. And it's going to look really bad because it's going to look like, oh, you have been trying to put your hand on the scale over here because you don't have very much. Um, Typically, I would say, you're the attorney. If there is a very strong case, you probably don't need to do things like this. You probably don't need to be kicking out the legs of everything you possibly can, and amending rules and saying you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that if you got the strong case. Is that accurate?
That was my approach when I was a prosecutor. When I have the goods, man, I don't care what you do on the other side.
Yeah.
I know I'm in the right, and I know I have the substantiation to back it up. And so I'm not going to, take what some people might see as, petty shots against somebody else, especially when, like, the prosecutors, they're supposed to wear the white hats. They're supposed to be the upstanding folks here. And but in practice, that's just not always how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's I know I use this a lot, but it's shocking. I mean, just the amount of things in this case that have gone really awry. It almost gives him almost a guaranteed, new trial card, no matter what how this ends up, especially if he's convicted. But I mean, if he walks free, do you feel like Delphi really has a financial vested interest in him not walking free? I mean, I can think it's probably going to be a massive lawsuit if he does, if they do find him not guilty.
I think absolutely, because these are the types of cases where if they did wrongfully pursue someone, the police department could be bankrupt. I mean, it's a small enough town and it's a large enough alleged travesty that, that they really are invested not only in the conviction of this person because they allegedly think he did it, but also because if they screw this up, their butts could be on the line on a civil case later on.
It feels like they're, I mean, this is just my conjecture. It feels like Delphi is bluffing in a really bad poker game, and they're just like really bluffing badly. Like, oh, I got nothing, guys. You can't talk about Onanism. I got nothing. We can't talk about anything that might relate to these other suspects. Let's get rid of this witness. I mean, that's just kind of how it feels.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they're so pot committed at this point, they couldn't possibly shift. They couldn't possibly, or I mean, they could, and perhaps, by some accounts they should, but they're not going to shift from their course of action now. They think they're at the finish line, and I think they're going to go full steam ahead to see what outcome they can secure.
Yeah, it may be a full steam ahead right off a cliff, too. We'll have to find out. Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.